Going on YouTube? So, I wanted to come back with my part 2 of my NFL draft rankings, my big board. So yesterday I did my QB rankings, so today I wanted to move into my running back rankings. If you guys did not see the video yesterday, go check that out. It will probably be in the outro, as well as I might put a link in the description below, maybe a playlist to this. I'm going to get a playlist started for this entire series. Anyway, it's going to be the same format, top 10 rankings, and then I'm going to give my 5 outside for the guys that I thought should be mentioned anyway, maybe as later picks in the draft, or maybe guys that will be significant unsigned free agents. So, go ahead and start with my first, and it's pretty obvious, is Ezekiel Elliott. So, basically Ezekiel Elliott is the best running back in the draft, clear cut for me. He carried Ohio State to a national championship. He's got a good frame, good running style. He's 6 foot, 225 pounds out of Ohio State. He projects for me as a first-round pick. I wouldn't say early first round, I'd say later first round. In my mock draft, I had him going to the Broncos. I think that's a good fit. I could see him going to the Texans. I could see him going to even maybe the Panthers if they want to move on from Jonathan Stewart. There's a lot of teams in the later first round that could definitely use a running back like Ezekiel Elliott. So move on to my second running back, and he is the 6'2", 242-pound junior out of Alabama. That's Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry projects a little bit low compared to what a lot of people thought he would. He won the Heisman, and he still projected for me as at the highest a late first round pick. He just doesn't have the speed that you would like for an NFL running back. Obviously, he has the frame for it. He's huge. I mean, just ask everyone who tried to play him in college. Seems almost impossible to take down. Average 5.7 yards per carry his junior year, as well as comparing him to Ezekiel Elliott, he did as well carry his team to a national championship. But like I said, he projects for me as a second-round pick. I think any team in the second round would be lucky to have him, though. I think he's going to go early in the second round if he does make it that far. So move on to my third-ranked running back, and my third and fourth are kind of interchangeable to me. He projects as a second to third-round pick. He is the 5'10", 210-pound redshirt junior out of UCLA, Paul Perkins. Had a pretty good year. UCLA finished pretty rough, but Paul Perkins was a solid back nonetheless. He will be taken over by Sosa Jamabo, but that really has nothing to do with Paul Perkins and his draft status. I think Paul Perkins is the third best running back on the board. He left a little bit early. I think that was honestly a good decision for him. Now, move on to my fourth-ranked running back, and this is the guy that's a little bit interchangeable for me, and he is the 5'11", 212-pound senior out of Utah. That's Devontae Booker. He was injured for a little bit of this year, and for me, like I said, him and Paul Perkins, while they're not extremely similar backs, they're pretty interchangeable. Paul Perkins is a little bit more speedy runner on the outside, and Devontae Booker, while he has a little bit of speed to him, he's mainly a run-up-the-middle type back. I think both these guys could be solid plug-and-play backs in the NFL. I think Devontae Booker fits very well as a very good third-down back in the NFL. Paul Perkins, to me, can maybe fit somewhere in between, I'd say, the Devonta Freeman and kind of the Charcandrick West profile. I think he's somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's too far tilted towards either side, though. But like I said, Devontae Booker projects as a third-round pick for me. I think both these guys are going to be gone by the end of the third round. Might slip into the fourth, but that's a little bit of a stretch. So move on to my fifth-ranked running back, and he is the 5'11", 218-pound junior out of Arkansas, and that's Alex Collins. For me, I have him as a third, fourth-round pick, and I think he might be one of the biggest steals of the draft. I think Alex Collins is a real solid back. He was recruited as a 5-star back to Arkansas. Had, what was 3 very, very successful seasons at Arkansas. Really broke out this year, though, in a big way. Never really had a big spotlight on him, just because Arkansas never really lived up to the hype they were supposed to this year. And for much of his career, he was splitting the backfield with Jonathan Williams. But like I said, he's an athletic freak. He really can break through tackles. He is still a pretty fast back as well. I think he projects as a pretty good NFL back. And like I said, whatever NFL team gets him, I really do think he'll end up as a starter one day. So move on to my sixth back, and he is the 6'1", 220-pound redshirt junior out of Notre Dame. That's C.J. Prosise. So C.J. Prosise was thrust into the spotlight after Taron Folston went down this year. Had a pretty fantastic year. I have him projected as a 4th to 7th round pick. I think he's going to go in day 2. For me, actually day 3. I'm getting confused with the old style draft now. But CJ Prosise to me is a back that has high football IQ. He's also pretty fast. He's pretty good everywhere. He's got a pretty polished game. He's a pretty NFL-ready back. So if a team that needs maybe a bigger stable of running backs in the backfield, he's definitely a guy that fits in well. I don't know if he's gonna. Obviously he's not gonna be a day 1 starter, but like I said, if you need a little bit of depth back there, I think he's one of the best depth players in the draft and one of the safest picks in the actual 7 rounds of the draft. So move on to my number 7 running back, and he is a 6 foot, 210-pound senior out of Alabama, and that's Kenyon Drake. I think Kenyon Drake would be a lot higher rated on this if he hadn't spent so much of his career injured. He really was able to showcase how good he was in the national championship. He's got unbelievable speed, but even this year he had a little bit of injury problems with, I believe he had a broken wrist for a little bit. If you guys watched the SEC championship, he had a little club on his hand, so he really couldn't catch that much. Still played through it, though. I think Kenyon Drake is a very, very good running back. Like I said, one of the fastest running backs in the draft for sure. Extremely athletic guy, never really had a chance at Alabama until this year. He had a chance to start every year, but it just seemed like every year he was injured. Like I said, he projects as a 4th to 7th round pick for me. Again, a lot like Alex Collins, I think this guy's going to be a steal. I think him and Alex Collins are definitely the 2 low-key players of the draft that could end up as starters one day. Very successful NFL players. So we move on to my number 8 back, and I have the 6'1", 225-pound junior out of Indiana, Jordan Howard. This was a guy at the beginning of the year that I think a lot of people thought would be able to jump up into maybe even 2nd or 3rd round projections. And I think maybe a really good combine could help him out. I don't know if that would bump him up to 2nd or 3rd round. I have him projected as a 4th to 7th round pick. I really think that's probably the highest he's going to go is the 4th round. But also, he's a back with a big frame, runs very, very, very hard, has a very downhill style of running. It's hard to come up with a comparison for him in the NFL off the top of the dome right now, but he's still a very athletic back. I think he's a guy that has a lot of upside. Didn't really get a whole lot of national attention because he went to Indiana, but again, I think he's a guy that could be a pretty good pickup, especially if he slips to the 6th or 7th round. So at number 9, I might have him a little bit lower than a lot of people. I know he's been pretty hot on draft boards recently, but I have the 5'10", 212-pound senior out of Louisiana Tech, Kenneth Dixon. Now, a lot of people have him projected even as high as the late second round. I have him projected as a 4th to 7th round pick. I think the fact that he went to Louisiana Tech and didn't get that much in the national spotlight will hurt him a little bit. But he was also on a very talented Louisiana Tech offense this year with Jeff Driscoll. Louisiana Tech offense that was able to win their bowl game. Again, very athletic kid, hard running style. I think that this is one of the biggest make or break players for the combine. I think he's going to the Senior Bowl as well. I think that these 2 are very important games for him. Again, make or break for his draft status, really. Again, not that much national attention while he was at Louisiana Tech at a non-Power 5 school. If he has a solid combine, a solid pro day, if he even has a big pro day. But again, solid combine, solid Senior Bowl, then I think he can slide back. I really think he can fit into that 2nd or 3rd round projection. But again, that's just not where I have him right now. So move on to my number 10 back, and this really could be any number of guys for me. A lot of the guys on the 5 outside could have fit this profile as well, but the guy I went with was the 5'11", 225-pound, I believe, senior out of Arkansas, Jonathan Williams. For me, Jonathan Williams projects as a 7th round, maybe an undrafted free agent. If he does slip out of the draft, I think whatever team gets him will be pretty lucky. He did have some injury problems his senior year. For much of his career, split the backfield with Alex Collins. Very deadly backfield duo at Arkansas. Jonathan Williams, another hard-nosed runner, got a decent amount of speed to him. While he was a very, very solid college back and was very successful there while he was healthy, I don't think his game projects very well into the NFL, especially with how injury-prone he is. But also at the same time, you can see the upside while he was in college. if that does manage to shine through, he gets put in the right situation, I think he can be a very good back. Now moving to my 5 outside. So first I've got, I believe, the 6 foot, 225 pound senior out of USC, and that's Trey Madden. I think Trey Madden's going to be succeeded by a very, very good set of running backs at USC. I wanted to highlight Ronald Jones. I think he's starting to get thrust in the spotlight a little bit more. Guy who was actually originally an Oklahoma State commit, but flipped to USC about 2 months later. Guy who is very, very solid, very fast. If you watch him, he just looks like a USC back. He looks... Some people are jumping to the comparison to Reggie Bush, and I'm not going to jump that far, but maybe Chauncey Washington. Again, that might not be doing enough service, but anyway. Moving to Trey Madden, I just don't see him as actually going in the first 7 rounds. I think he has a chance to maybe go as high as the 6th round. Again, that's all dependent on really his Senior Bowl and Combine. He is an athletic guy, along with most of the backs at USC, but again, I think he's kind of overshadowed with just overall talent by the 10 backs that are ahead of him in my list. And again, these are the 5 outside are in no particular order. So move on to my second back. Had an up and down year. The 5'10", 205-pound junior out of Florida. That's Kelvin Taylor. I think Kelvin Taylor really could have benefited from another year at Florida. If they would have had a better offense this year, I think that would have helped his draft stock a little bit more. He was really the only consistent piece of a Florida offense that was not just up and down, but almost horrid at the end of the season. They were so bad. While Treon Harris was playing and just nothing got going, Kelvin Taylor was a 1,000-yard rusher this year. He's a very reliable back. I think he's got a set ceiling that's going to be hard for him to reach a really high upside, but I think you know what you're getting if you do pick up Kelvin Taylor, and I think that he can be a serviceable back for a few years in the league. Maybe serve as second or third string guy again. Guy that seems he could be pretty serviceable if he gets thrust into a game because of injury. Now move on to my number 3 on the 5 outside, and he is the 5'8", 198-pound redshirt senior out of Texas Tech. That's DeAndre Washington. Now, what I like about DeAndre Washington is he's seen a multitude of situations. I don't think he's played the top end of defenses yet. It's going to be a change for him to be playing on the Texas Tech offense against Big 12 defense to play in the NFL. But he's a very solid back, catching the ball out of the backfield. He might be as good as any, honestly, might be as good of receiver as any running back in this draft. A decent blocker, pretty fast, got a decent amount of low-key speed, and also developed to become a great leader for Texas Tech this year. Guy that's probably not getting a lot of mentions for this draft, but I think a guy that should. I don't know how high his upside is, but a guy that really showed me a lot this year while he was playing at Texas Tech. So we move on to my number 4 running back on the 5 outside. And he is the 6 foot, 205-pound junior. Senior out of Oregon State, and that's Storm Woods. So I think he benefited this year from having Gary Anderson come over from Wisconsin, a traditional running coach. Storm Woods is a guy, to me, he's a very powerful back. I think he's going to be extremely good goal line back or third down back in the NFL. I think a guy, again, that's not getting enough mentions. And he'd be a really, really solid undrafted free agent pickup for any team that looks his way. My problem with Storm Woods is, again, there's really 2, and one is just the national exposure really was not there. And 2 is he had a little bit of a fumbling problem at Oregon State, and obviously that spells trouble when you're a goal line and third down back that likes to break a lot of tackles, run through the tackles. So move on to my number 5 running back, and I have the 5'11", 205-pound redshirt senior out of TCU, Aaron Green. Now, Aaron Green is just, to me, one of the most elusive backs in this draft. He's a back that probably has the most upside of any player in my 5 outside. I think the TCU backs aren't given enough credit the amount of talent they had in the backfield this year between Aaron Green and KaVontae Turpin really kept that team afloat. I think Aaron Green needs to get a bigger look. I think a good day at a Senior Bowl will do him well. Again, Combine, this 5 outside really has a big make or break feel to it between the Combine, Pro Days, and, well, if they do have them, Combine, Pro Days, and the Senior Bowl. Aaron Green, while he did get a decent amount of national exposure as TCU really got thrust into the national spotlight the last 2 years, I don't think he got enough focus put on him. Most of the focus obviously went on Trevone Boykin, Josh Doctson, even Colby Listenby before Aaron Green. Aaron Green, I think I mentioned this before, to me is one of the most elusive backs in this draft, and with good reason. He's unbelievably shifty. It seems like all the TCU backs are. He's similar to KaVontae Turpin in that way. It's hard for me to come up with an NFL comparison, but I really can see if any player that goes undrafted in this league really becomes a decent running back in the league. I think it's going to be Aaron Green. So to sum it up, I think that if you're looking for a couple sleepers in this draft, Kenyon Drake, Alex Collins, and Aaron Green fit that profile for me. It's not a great running back class in the draft. The top 2 are star-studded, very well-known names, but next year will definitely be a lot better draft class for running backs. But I also think this is a very deep class of sleepers that really could end up turning out very well in the NFL. It's got a lot of depth guys, a lot of good leaders. Now, that pretty much concludes my running back rankings. I will be coming back tomorrow with my wide receiver rankings. Pretty good wide receiver class. I'm excited to do that one. Well, like I said, that's pretty much it. If you haven't checked out my quarterback rankings yet, definitely go do that and keep the lookout for the wide receiver video coming tomorrow. So that's pretty much it. See ya. What is going on, YouTube? So I wanted to come back with my Broncos-Patriots preview, get a little bit into the NFL before the season is over. So obviously this is the AFC Championship game, and while most of my videos this year have been on college football, I've done a little bit on the NFL, but I have been watching the NFL all year, so don't think that I'm just jumping into it now.